My name is Jessica. I was 22 years old when I learned that innocence is not always a shield. Sometimes it is a target. I came to the city with one small bag and a clean heart. I rented a tiny room behind a shop. Thin walls, cold floors, and not much else. But I was grateful. I had learned early in life to be grateful for small things. My parents died when I was young, and I grew up with relatives who had little to spare. Gratitude was the only currency I could always afford. I worked hard. I cleaned houses, washed dishes, and wiped down tables late into the night. My hands were rough. My back ached. But every morning I woke before the sun, boiled water, drank weak coffee, and told myself to keep going. The hardest part was not the tired body. The hardest part was feeling invisible, like I moved through the world and no one truly saw me. Then one rainy evening, someone did. I was standing under a small roof, waiting for the rain to pass, when an old man stopped beside me. His hair was grey and thin. His clothes were clean but worn. He walked with a cane and spoke with a calm, gentle voice. "You look cold," he said. I nodded, unsure what to say. He offered me his umbrella. That small act of kindness felt enormous. His name was Mr. Samuel. I later found out he owned the very shop behind which I rented my room. At the time, I only knew that he listened when I spoke, never interrupted, and always asked if I had eaten. In a city where I felt alone, he felt like a lifeline. "You are a good girl," he told me one evening. "I can see it." I held those words close. He began visiting more often. Sometimes he brought rice and soup, sometimes fruit or bread. When I struggled with rent, he waved it away. "Pay later," he said. I felt relief and shame all at once, but I told myself this was simply kindness. I told myself good people existed, and I had found one. But slowly things shifted. His visits grew longer. His questions became more personal. One night he asked why I was still a virgin. My face burned. I told him I had chosen to be. He smiled in a way that made my skin feel strange. "Men like pure girls," he said. I did not like those words, but I stayed quiet. Silence had become my habit. His hand began to brush my arm during visits. Light touches, quick ones, the kind that could be mistaken for accidents. I told myself they meant nothing. I kept my eyes on the floor and my thoughts to myself. Then one evening he arrived without food. He carried a piece of paper instead. It was a debt record. All the rent I had not paid, all the meals, all the small amounts of money he had given me over the months. The number was large, larger than I had imagined. "I thought you said I could pay later," I whispered. "Later has come," he replied. My hands trembled. I told him I didn't have that kind of money. I told him I could find more work, that I could pay slowly. He looked at me for a long moment, then said, "There are other ways to repay." The room shrank. The air thickened. I understood what he meant even before he said another word. He stepped closer. I stepped back. I am not that kind of girl, I said, my voice barely holding steady. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You think purity protects you, he said softly. That question cut deeper than anything else. I stood frozen, not from fear alone, but from the weight of realizing how long I had been walking toward this moment. Without knowing it, his kindness had never been free. I had simply been too desperate to read the price, but something inside me woke up. I looked at him and said, "No." One small word, but it was mine, and I meant it. His face darkened. He called me ungrateful. He told me I had 1 week to settle my debt. Then he left. I sank to the floor and sat there for a long time, shaking. I had nothing, no savings, no family, no safety net. But I still had my body, and now I had my voice. I did not sleep that night. The next morning I went to work. I scrubbed floors and washed dishes, my hands moving on their own while my mind turned everything over. Why did my innocence make me weaker? Why had my need made me so easy to trap? On the 4th day, I packed my bag before sunrise and left without saying goodbye. I found a shared room with other women. The bed was hard, the air smelled of soap and sweat, but I felt something I hadn't felt in months: safety. I took on more work, longer hours, less rest. But there was no debt hanging over me, no one expecting payment in ways I could never give. Months passed. One afternoon, I saw Mr. Samuel on the street. He was walking slower now, his back more bent, his steps uncertain. He looked at me with sharp eyes. "You could have had an easy life," he said. I met his gaze and replied, "Easy for who?" He said nothing. I walked away. Later that day, I sat in a small cafe as rain tapped softly against the window. I held a warm cup in both hands and thought about everything, about purity, about poverty, about how easily kindness can be constructed as a trap, and how easily need can be used as a chain. I had not lost my body, but I had lost something: the quiet belief that the world was mostly good, that help was mostly free, that trust was mostly safe. That loss changed me. I began to ask questions sooner. I learned to say no before the moment became unbearable. I learned that trusting slowly is not coldness, it is wisdom earned the hard way. I am still Jessica. I am still poor. Life has not become easy, but I am not silent anymore. I do not freeze anymore, and I do not confuse someone's generosity with proof of their goodness. At night, when I lie down in my small room, I think of a candle flame, how small it is, how easily the wind can take it. But if you cup your hand around it, if you protect it carefully, even the tiniest flame can push back the dark. I am still burning,